Hello everyone and welcome to episode 14 of Reconstructing Cave Story. In this episode we're going to be refining the player movement. So the first refinement we have is jump is actually going to be reduced gravity and not anti-gravity with a timer. So this means we get to get rid of our timer, which is a big plus, and therefore get rid of our whole jump struct because everything gets simplified when you get rid of the timing element of it. Another part, our motion constants are a bit off. So I'm going to fix those up. Like right now, we're jumping about 4 tiles, but we need to jump 3 tiles. Another big one is that we actually do our X acceleration different in the air. Like it's about half of what it is on the ground, or slower than what it is on the ground. And another thing, we have a friction constant instead of a slowdown multiplier. And so I'm going to implement that instead, just because I found a Google Doc online with all the physics pulled from the original assembly. So I just figured, hey, if somebody went to the work of making all these physics constants, I might as well use them. Let's see, what else? Players, look back needs refinement. We don't want to look back if we're coming down from a jump. And we want to stay looking back until some other button is pressed. Like, we don't want to stop looking back just because the down button is released. And I'm going to call this an interacting motion type because that's what you're doing, is you're either interacting with a save point or interacting with a health thing or interacting with a person or a mimiga. So yeah, we'll start with our jump, and I'll go ahead and copy in these jump. This new yeah, so I'll start with the jump and make sure that it is like the game, I guess. That's what I was trying to say. So we'll replace these. Instead of having a kJump time, we'll have kJumpGravity. And we'll get to this kAirAcceleration in a minute. But for now, let's just worry about this jump. We can get rid of the jump struct because we're no longer doing this time remaining in milliseconds, and that's like the whole reason we were doing reactivate and deactivate was just this time remaining in milliseconds kind of made things complicated. So we'll just get rid of our jump struct and change our jump to a bool. So bool jump active. Player CC, this means we can get rid of these two methods. And let's go up and look at the red marks. So jump.update goes away completely because we're not updating, there's nothing to be updated. Jump.reset also goes away, but we do need to set jump active to be true. So we can say jump active equals true. And as long as our velocity y is, actually we can just set it jump active to be true if we start a jump, and jump active to be false if we stop jump. So jump active equals, all right, where's the next red bar? Down here, we're checking to see if jump active, then we use kGravity. Okay, let's change this to be float gravity is equal to, if where jump is active and our velocity y is greater than or less than 0, then we set gravity to be equal to kJumpGravity. This means that our jump button we are, as a player, holding our jump button, and we are going up. Otherwise, we don't want to use kJumpGravity if we're falling down. So we're going up, then we use kJumpGravity. Otherwise, we use, here, I can move this all up here. Otherwise, we use our kGravity. And so we can get rid of this if not jump active stuff, as long as we use our newly defined gravity gravity, yeah, let's make it constant. All right, that looks good. I think that's all we need to do to fix our jump, so I'm going to go ahead and try it out. Yes, I'd like to build it. Let's see if it compiles. It looks like it's compiling. So I'll just jump. And that looks more about the right height. Yeah. So I'll do my quick test, jump in the air, try pressing it a bunch of times. Yep. All right, looks good. So now that we have that out of the way, let's do our kAirAcceleration because we have that constant in place now. So acceleration, we're searching for acceleration x. So what we're going to need to do for our acceleration x is, instead of setting it inside of our start moving left, start moving right, we just say what direction we're going. And for this, I think what I'm going to do is just have acceleration become an int, and so it's just going to be positive, negative, or 0. Doesn't really matter what we set it to, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So we'll just set it to -1 inside of start moving left and +1. And the reason I'm doing this, whoa, what did I just do? And the reason I'm doing this is to is because now we have two accelerations that we could be using, like one if we're in the air and one if we're on the ground. So now I'm just going to say the direction and then figure out when we actually need the acceleration, whether we're on the ground or in the air. So when do we actually need the acceleration? We'll start it off to be 0 instead of 0.0f. All right, here we go. Get sprite state. So that's all that we're going to do for that. That's easy. Here inside of update x is where the real magic happens. So instead of having velocity x plus equals acceleration x, and this, no, that's right. So we'll get rid of these. All right, so instead we're going to have it be acceleration x that we're going to calculate right here. So we'll say float, const float. How do we keep the sign? Okay. So I'll do a float acceleration x and then calculate it in a series of if statements. If acceleration x that we have stored in our class is less than 0, then we set acceleration x to be equal to, now if we're on ground, then we just set acceleration to be kWalkingAcceleration. Otherwise, we need to use kAirAcceleration. And we're going to do the same thing for if we're going to the right, except for to the left, we need to set these to be negative kWalking and negative kAcceleration. All right, sound good? Cool. whatever. So I'm gonna try this out. It should be like painfully obvious because my constants were too fast anyways. So this is how fast he's accelerating. Now he's like hardly accelerating at all in the air. Yeah, sweet. So now let's change our walking motion and fall motion constants. And this is just by copying and pasting these constants I translated, which I will give to you in the description. So walking and fall. All right, let's make sure these work. No, they don't, because, oh, right, we now have our kFriction instead of our kSlowdown. So let's fix that. This is going to be kind of simple. Instead of multiplying by our kSlowdown factor, we're going to figure out if we're going to the right, then our friction will operate to the left. So we want to take the standard max of 0.0f and velocity x minus kFriction times elapsed time in millis. Otherwise, we take the minimum and add friction, because friction always opposes motion. So it looks like these are all working. Yep. Sweet. Sweet, sweet. All right. Now that we've got all of our constants in and we have our jump fixed, let's refine our player look back. And to do this, I'm going to introduce an interacting motion type as well as an interacting Boolean. Interacting motion type called interacting. So what should we start with? Well, let's start with our new interacting motion type. So let's look at our sprites, because that is what this is directly impacting. So we'll call it initialize sprite. So this is where it comes in handy to have our triple loop of looping through every situation, because now we don't need to remember to make a new situation. Our game will crash if we don't. So no longer are we going to have our K back frame be used if we are standing. So let's change this piece of logic in here where I'm setting if sprite state vertical facing equal down. Let's add another check to see if I need to know if we're jumping or falling. So we'll just say jumping or falling. Sprite state dot motion equals falling. And we'll put these inside of this if statement. Then we need to use our K down frame. Not sprite X, source X. And so this is just like, if we're standing, that we don't have a down frame either, and that's what I'm trying to say with this logic. But if we're jumping or falling, then we do have a down frame, which is the down frame, instead of using our back frame. So up here is where we're going to set, inside of the switch statement, after standing, I'll say case interacting. Then we want to set source x to be our k back frame times gain k tile size. Okay, so now in our get sprite state, we need to say when we're interacting. And we're going to say that we're interacting when interacting is equal to true. So where is get sprite state? I'll just get sprite state. All right, so if interacting else if well, that's interacting, right? Yeah. So then we set our motion type to be interacting. Now we need to actually set when we are interacting, and that is going to be in our look down. Interacting will be true. And pretty much everywhere else we need to set it to false. What a dumb thing to do. Okay, inside of lookup we set it to false. And look horizontal I'm not setting it to false. But and then when we start moving right, just basically wherever there's a button pushed to get there, then yeah, I'm going to set interacting to be false. And I should probably change this before I keep copying and pasting it. So also when we start jumping, I'm going to set interacting to be false. But not in look horizontal. And that's because when we look horizontal, that's like pretty much either you're releasing the up and down keys or you're pushing both of them, and you don't want to change it if that's the case. So yes, let's rebuild it and see how this works. Looks like he starts out interacting, but I'll fix that in a second. So I push down, and he does his interacting, and I'm pushing down, and I hold down. Now I release down, and it's fine. Push up, he starts looking, push down, jump, goes out of it. Yeah, so now he's doing a whole interact kind of cycle instead of, oh, what's that? Looks like he's interacting if he's in the air. So let me fix that too real quick. And at the same time, fix my interacting, like initialize it after jump active. So I should probably initialize jump active too. So in here after on ground, I'll set jump active to be false and interacting to also be false. And then where we set interacting to be true, we'll just set it to be interacting to be on ground. So this way, if we're in the air when we try to interact, then we won't be able to. Let's see how it works. So we're in the air. But we need to make sure that when we're falling down, we don't switch into our interacting mode, because we want to be able to jump and shoot while and looking down. All right, so let's fix that. Since we're not using vertical facing equals down when we're standing anymore or walking, I'm going to just use that kind of to our advantage. So if vertical facing equals down, return. And this way we won't set interacting if we're in the air or we come down from the air. See if this works, and I think this will be the end of the episode if it does. So we interact, that works fine still. Now I jump and I hold down, and okay, good, he doesn't interact. So okay, sweet. So that's the end of this episode. Mostly just clean up like player movement. I think in the next episode I'll do something like background tiles or something, which means we'll have to get into alpha blending or removing of the blackness from our bitmap. All right, so thanks guys for watching. It's been a lot of fun making this.